Good afternoon and welcome to Our World Hour of Power. I'm Lady Pauline and I have a special co host today because Glenn is on vacation. His name is Joseph Swift. He's also the producer and editor of Our World Hour of Power.
How you doing?
Welcome, Joe, as my
Thank you,
co
thank you.
host. Thank you for being on. I also have a special guest. His name is Steve E. Kimbrough. Hi,
How
Steve.
are
Did you
you?
say it right?
Yeah, did I say it
How are
right?
you?
I'm good.
Yes, you
You're
did.
a
You did.
yeah, you're a film producer. You're an entrepreneur. What else? I know you're a comedian as well.
Yes, there's quite a few boxes you can check on me. DJ, comedian, actor, writer, producer. I'm also a distributor. I launched my new film festival. It's a drive-in movie film festival, and
Nice.
we are doing international calls for films for our several locations of our drive-in movie theaters. So the pandemic shut the theaters down, but it didn't shut the outdoor drive-in movie theaters down. So we're creating festivals around drive-in movie theaters, and we had last night we had a really very cool Valentine's drive-in movie weekend in Marina Del Rey, and it was awesome.
Oh wow, you're a busy man.
Yes,
Well,
very busy.
let's talk about your humble beginnings. What made you decide? I should say, what made you decide to get into show business?
My mom was a party girl, and she always had me, either do a little Michael Jackson thing or a Stevie Wonder thing, or she always had me do a little dance. I can remember being 4 and 5 and 6 years old, and my mom waking me up and bringing me out to do a dance, and everybody thought that was cool. So I I I learned the value of performing and the attention that you get with that at a very early age. So throughout school, that kind of rolled into being a class clown, and from being a class clown, it kind of rolled me into like looking for a microphone to get on to be kind of silly. And then when the DJ business started, when the whole industry, we basically took two turntables and put our records on, and this was
Mm-hmm.
before there was mixers or samplers or anything.
I
And
remember.
I found that I had a lot of fun doing that. So as that industry evolved, then I became like a DJ with a really kind of funny, quirky comedy MC style, and I'd like to make people laughs in between the records, and then comedy, stand up comedy, A&E in the '80s. We were introduced to that, and then once I saw that on TV, I found a comedy club. I went down, I auditioned, I did well, they liked me, I liked them, and the rest is history. I ended up pursuing stand up comedy, and I have been a stand up comedian for 30 years. And then from that,
Wow.
It's a long time.
uh,
That's good.
yeah, I've done college tours, air show tours, cruise ships. I've been on over 5 different cruise line, over 30 different ships. I was the entertainment director for the Liberty One, which was the very first gaming ship out of Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, New York, and that's where I
That's
met
huge.
Alvin.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now it's coming
Alvin,
Alvin
together.
Hartley.
yeah,
Yeah.
Alvin was working for Hot 97 at the time, and we did some promos with them. And so he came on board. He loved the ship. He loved me. I loved him. And then we've been working together ever since. That was in '97, I believe. So we've been working together ever since. So then
Now
I moved.
is I didn't mean to cut you off, but Steve, is show business really truly your heart's desire from the beginning, or did you ever have anything else that you wanted to do?
There was some times where I thought I wanted to do something. I mean, I was really good at sales, and I thought I wanted to be, like the top sales guy of like whatever company that I worked for. And I was, the 3 companies that I did sales for before I got into comedy, I was the top guy, but that wasn't satisfying enough. And I was always working for somebody else, and I had to make somebody else's quota, and I was on somebody else's clock, and I was on somebody else's payroll, and I didn't have the independence and the freedom that I really wanted, which entertainment and working for yourself and doing your own schedule could provide. And
True.
once I became a professional comedian and I was actually making money at it, then I just looked at the map and I was like, okay, where do I want to go in America? What do I want to see? So I went on this quest to do comedy in every state in America. And so I just put a pin in the city, called around, see where the comedy clubs were. I got the owner or the booker, told him who I was, and booked a date, and then I could check that state and city off of my to do list, my wish list.
Yeah.
And then once I got all the states done, I was like, okay, where in the world do I want to go and do some comedy? And once I rolled into filmmaking, I found that that opened up a lot more doors for me to put more pins in the map because not every country has a comedy club. And if they do, it may not be English. So um, I expanded my ambitions into filmmaking, and I started hitting international film festivals like Marbella, Spain, Barcelona, the south of France, and Cannes, Toronto, Canada, and and just basically expanded my ambitions into making films. And I found that that was more of a love than doing anything else. I mean, I will
Mhm.
always, always, always love doing stand-up comedy because that instant response and that laughter is gold and it's healing, and there's nothing like it.
Did you go to school for filmmaking?
I didn't go formally to a university, but what I did do, I took a lot of weekend intensives. I took a lot of workshops. I got hired to be on a lot of crews. You learn more on actually being on a film crew than you do in sitting in a classroom, like looking at a lot of stuff anyway. I mean, those are still valuable and you still get a lot out of it. But there's nothing like trial by fire where you're like under the pressure on a set and they throw a piece of equipment in your hand and they expect you to produce, to
Mhm.
execute under pressure. And I've been on several sets, and as a cast and as a crew, I've had my own productions where I produced, my own productions where I actually direct. So between being in front of the camera and behind the camera, over the years, I've been able to acquire enough experience to give me the confidence to like move forward with bigger and better projects. I mean, I'm always a student in the game, and I'm always open and willing to learn every single day, which you do. And the more you learn, the funner it gets, the better your stuff gets, the higher value production value gets in your project. So just to see the evolution of your own film production and your own filmmaking and your talent is very, very rewarding.
Now, Steve, what sort of advice would you give to somebody like my co-host today, Joseph Swift, who is, well, he's been in the field for about 10, 15 years, but he still hasn't gotten that quote unquote his big break. And sometimes you get discouraged and depressed, and the lack of money,
Yeah.
which could make you more depressed. But what advice would you give to a young person, male or female, that really wants to get into this field? What should they do?
Um, the best advice that I got, because I asked that very same question, I go to a lot of film festivals and I get a chance to go to several panels. And these panels have like top of the food chain film industry people who are amazing, legendary, iconic talent that you get a chance to sit in front of and hear uh, like their blueprint for success. And here's what I learned, and I try to apply my game plan to the advice that I got from these top legendary professionals at major film festivals that you can't even get access to unless you have, 10 projects on your IMDb just to even get a badge to get into that room.
Wow.
Um, so there's a couple things I learned from those guys. Number one, always be working on your craft. If you're not shooting something every day, or interviewing somebody every day if you want to be a podcast, or if you're doing music, if you're not playing music every day, if you're doing a comedian, want to be a comedian, if you're not on stage every night doing stand up, um, pick the category. If you want to be a major editor for the studios, if you're not editing your friends, people who hire you, your own projects, if you're not editing every day, um, you're not going to get noticed. You're not going to rise above and be the cream at the top. And that applies to everything across the line. So pick a box for the thing that you want to do. If it's interviewing celebrities on the red carpet, then you need to find out every red carpet that's happening within a 100-mile radius of your base camp. And you need to be out every day interviewing people on the red carpet. So that was number one. The people who
Okay.
are serious do what they want to do every day. And in doing that, there's like a couple things that happens. Number one, you get better and better and better. And the 10,000 hours that you have to put into being that thing that qualifies you as being a professional in that thing, you're getting, number one. Number two, you're establishing consistency with what it is that you want to do and who it is you want to be, because that's going to play a role for people who's above your plateau, who's looking for talent that's below their plateau. That's also going to be the people who below your plateau are going to be looking above the plateau to see who they want to work with, because they're not going to have access to the A-listers or B or C, but they do have access to you, the next plateau above. And you are going to do the same thing. You're looking for people a plateau above you, who you can work with, who are just as committed as you are, because you know if the fame and the money and the accolades aren't there, which they aren't at that level, then what's the other motivation for you to do what you do and try to be the best at what you do? And the motivation is your desire to do it and your commitment to do it every day. Those are the people you want, because no matter what project you get on, and if you run out of money, and if you are exhausted, and if everybody like falls off, you still need to complete the project. You want to be with the person who feels the same way as you, getting this across the finish line. And all those other people aren't going to do it because they're going to fall off, because their motivations and their ambitions aren't the same as yours. So the same thing with the tier below you. You're looking for those people who are committed when the fame and the money and the glory and all the accolades all are not there, but you still want to get the project across the finish line. Those are the people you want to work with. And the people at the top will notice you. And if they find a window for you, they'll find a place for you. They'll come and get you. But they're only looking for those people who are very serious about what they do for themselves, because they know if they add you to their
Platform?
crew, their
Mm.
platform, their plateau, that hell or high water, you're gonna cross the finish line, and there's nothing that's going to stop you, because you're trained and conditioned to complete the project no matter what. The second thing that Tate told me, which I found that I do anyway, is don't chase. Use people at the top for inspiration, but don't chase people at the top. Don't chase people close to the top.
Explain that more in depth, Steve.
Okay.
What does that
Um,
really mean?
what that means is, um, I'm I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a director. All right. I got a great script that I wrote that's really good. Script writers read it and they're like, this is good. This is a good script. This could be a good movie. So the script is good enough for me to have the confidence to pitch an A-lister to be in it. Okay.
Okay.
So, but I'm not an A-list writer. I'm not an A-list director. I'm not an A-list producer, and I'm not an A-list actor. So the chances of me getting an A-list to be in my project is almost close to being impossible. However, I can get Alvin,
Okay.
And
Uh,
chances are, since I wrote the words, I don't have to worry about Alvin spinning off onto his own verbal antics because he's got to read the words that I wrote, and I know the words that I wrote are brilliant. So Alvin is on my plateau. Joe Swift is on my plateau. Lady Pauline, I got a part for her. She's going to kill it because the lines I wrote for her are brilliant. The lines I wrote for everybody are brilliant because I had 10 script doctors read it and they all doctored it and made it brilliant. They made my words brilliant. So whoever I get on my plateau, who I have access to, are all going to be good enough and professional enough, and they're going to put together a performance that's going to make my project be A-list noticeable. And
okay.
because that project is A-list notable and it has no A-listers in it, that gets me closer to the next plateau, the next tier.
Mhm.
So the advice was network amongst your plateau. Like if you're just starting, network with those people who are just starting, but try to find the ones who are really hungry and talented and ambition and want to get to the next level because those people are going to get you to the next plateau. And then when you're in that plateau, they're going to get you to the next plateau. So you're always striving to produce and up your ante one plateau at a time. The people who try to jump from the beginning straight to the A-lister,
Yeah.
not going to happen. Not going to
Okay.
happen because there's too much evolution that you need to go through just to even be qualified to be in that. There's too much evolution for you to be qualified in the next six plateaus you got to get to just to even get on the radar of like the C, B, and A-listers.
Mhm.
So if you really are aggressive with working every day and networking and collaborating and partnering with people in your plateau, then you're automatically going to rise to the top plateau at a time. But you have to have the patience and you have to be ambitious and you have to have the discipline to want to work on it every day. You do those things, it happens automatically because your work starts to speak for itself. People at the bottom and at the top are watching you. And anybody who's 1 degree separate from a major A-lister anywhere in that plateau process, if they see and like you, they'll pluck you out. But you got to put the work in first.
It's good
Okay.
information.
Now, Steve, one of the most important questions. How do you survive financially? Now, I've been in the field for over 40 something years, but I had to get out of it. I was working at WWRL radio for a while, and after I had my son, my contract was up, and I found myself, you know, trying to survive. And the next level was, to leave New York City, and I got an offer to go to New Orleans. And I said, "Oh my God, I can't go to New Orleans because I just had a baby. Who's going to take care of this kid? And so my gears changed into how am I going to survive? Because I realized that I wasn't going to be able to survive working in the radio business at that particular time,
Hmm.
because most likely everybody that was working on the radio station here in New York City, they came from somewhere else.
Right.
They didn't actually start in New York and then, it went the other way around. So I've spoken to many entertainers, different walks of life. The most hard thing for people to do is to work in the field that they like to do, but also make money. That's the problem that I'm finding out continuously throughout the years. My mother was in show business. My grandfather was in show business. But it's the ability to be able to maintain yourself, and that's
Hmm.
something, Steve, I would like for you to talk about because we always talk about the glitter and we see the lights, and oh, you're on the red carpet, blah blah blah. And then those same people sometimes that are on the red carpet snapping, 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 they come home, back to reality, and they can hardly pay their bills. But it looked good
Right.
while you was out there, taking the pictures. Everybody thought, oh man, this brother's arrived or this sister's arrived. But they don't realize the financial difficulties on how to survive in the business. So I'd like to
Right.
talk a little bit about that with you, Steve. And Joe would like to find out more about the business of how to survive.
Yes. That's a very, very, very good question. The first thing you have to do is ask yourself some really hard questions of what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do in order to keep the revenue stream going and the tweener revenue stream going. The tweener stream is all the money that you're looking to do in between the money you make on what you're trying to do for your profession. So, for example, I took a hard look at myself, and I went, okay, let me identify everything that I've done in my life that I got paid for it, even if it was $1. And I made a list, and I found out that list was pretty long between raking leaves and shoveling snow and driving Uber and cooking and cleaning basements and painting and roofing and laying brick and cinder block and digging ditches, all that stuff. I made money doing that, and it was work and it was hard work. And I listed them all. But I also made money DJing and doing voiceover and acting and editing and directing and writing and punching up screens and hosting podcasts and being a voiceover and model, being an actor. I listed every single thing that I did where I made money. Then I looked at that list and I went, okay, what things do I never ever want to do again? I don't care how much they pay me. And so dishwashing, cooking, paint fences, roofing, all those got like big exits to it. Then then what
Uh,
was left was okay, which one of these things I made the most money at? And then I prioritized it to okay, the most money I ever made was doing stand-up comedy. And I made $10,000 on one show. So stand-up comedy was at the top, and then DJing and then directing and writing and acting and all the way down to okay, I got paid $50 to be a co-host on a podcast or whatever. So I put them in like in value order so that I could see which makes me the most money, which makes me the least money. And then I just drew a line like in the middle of that. And then the big dollar chase, I put these are the things that I make the most money at. So this is where I should put the most time in pursuing revenues in these things. And then this, I put a little bit of time, but because they do add to the bottom line, it's still worth doing. And it's part of the career that I've chose to do in entertainment. So I put together a pitch or a campaign for each one of these things. Then I go on the internet and I find out where I can place those, whether it's on LinkedIn for a job for editing, or whether it's a comedy club looking for comedians, or as an ad agency looking for voiceover talent. I make sure that I place each of the marketable skills that I have in the areas that are actually hiring for those things. Once they're all placed,
mhm.
now your full-time job is chasing money for what you do. That's your job. And you have to treat it like a job. And when I was hired to do sales, that was my job.
Okay.
Because I've got the experience in sales, I'm
Yes.
luckier than most entertainers because most entertainers have never done sales. They went to school, they did the thing, they got, worked a little half-ass job. They found an entertainment thing they like. They made a little money on it. This is cool. This is what I want to do. Now, how do I make more at it? And they don't know the steps that you need to take. But if you're a sales guy and you're the number one sales guy at every company you ever worked at, and you go to the sales meetings and you go to the marketing meetings and you go to promotion meetings, every company wants to make sure the sales guy has the new products, the promo codes, the sales pitch. What's the new commercial? What's the new ad? What's the new graphic, the new picture, the new photo? Doesn't matter where it generates from, the marketing department, the promo department, or any other department. The sales guy is the one that needs to have these tools in order to sell the service and products of that business. That's the same approach I took for my entertainment to survive monetarily wise. Is you're always pitching, you're always selling, and if you can't do it, you need to like hire or partner or find other people who can do that for you. But somebody has to be 24/7 on the sales pitch. The beautiful thing about having websites and social media videos and platforms and all that, that becomes your sales team, and your website, your social media platforms, your videos, your YouTubes can be your sales and promotion team. So now these videos are out pushing and selling you. So now all you have to do is make sure that people get the links to your video sales pitch so that they can then get the pitch, and then they'll contact you if they want to use your service, or you turn into a salesperson and you take a couple hours a day. As a sales guy, I work 10 hours a day,
Mm.
and then another maybe couple hours doing follow up and sending out assets and materials and proposals and PowerPoint presentations and PDFs and all this other stuff. It was a real job. And at the end of the week, I had to show what I did for in order to get my check, whether I sold something or not. So if you're serious about how to survive in entertainment, you have to have a sales department. Either that's you or somebody else, or you can hire a sales agent, or you can hire a telemarketing company, or you can go online and find a company that's all they do is send out links, or you can buy ads on Facebook or YouTube or banners to sell what it is that you're trying to make money on. But the number one thing in survival is always be pitching and closing.
So
Always.
basically, Steve, what you're saying is whether you're a singer, dancer, sports, or in any type of form of entertainment, the bottom line is the marketing and sales.
Bottom line. Bottom
Okay.
line, marketing and sales. Bottom line. Because without that, you're not going to sell your product, you're not going to sell your service, you're not going to sell your talent.
Okay.
And that's you're a commodity. And how do people buy the commodity? Someone has to pitch it, or they need to see it and buy it. You don't have a billboard up, so somebody's got to be out pitching for you. You're not in the yellow pages, so somebody's got to be making phone calls for you. You're not, all the places that you need to be for a traditional sales pitch. So then you got to be creative and improvise and use the internet to level the playing field for getting your product and service out there. And then you got to follow up, and then you got to keep doing it because it's a numbers game. Let's say your odds to ratio is 10 to 1. That means you got to reach out to 10 people before you close one sale on any of those things that's on your list of revenue products and services that you have.
Okay, that's fair. You know, Steve, that's why I love talking to you and people that talk straight from the hip, as a because still young people and people are still under this impression, about show business. They constantly see the glamour and the glitz and the I live in South Jamaica, Queens, and you hear people rapping all the time, and I sometimes go up to them and they tell me, "Oh, I'm trying to get my record out," blah 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 blah, and I laugh sometimes, because to me it's kind of funny, but
Yeah.
sometimes they do make it, like from the area that I am from, 50 cents it's lived down the block from me here. And so a lot of times he comes back to the community, and gives back and so forth. But you see that's the picture that you usually see. But people forget and they don't really understand the business behind becoming that person.
Yeah, and 50 Cent is a good example to show that 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million chances that you make it. I mean, Eminem found him and launched him. So it's not like he had, to do the hard grunt work. I'm sure he worked at his show and his talent, and I'm sure he tried to get on as many stages as he could and whip the audience into a frenzy. And when someone like an Eminem, who's already established, sees that, then they see the potential of that, then they can snatch you up and take you to the A list. But MC Hammer, he went club to club selling his music out of his trunk. And when the record labels came to him and offered him a deal, 10 cents on the dollar, he turned it down. It's like, I'm making more than that, 100% on the dollar, selling these out of my trunk. But he was going to clubs every night. And he asked the DJ to put his record on, and he'd get out there and he'd do the hammer dance. And, so he was out selling and pitching his brand every day to like lots of people. And then at the end of the night, he's selling CDs out of his trunk and making more money than a record label could offer him. So they had to basically match what he could make potentially out of the trunk of his car. But that was because he put the work in up front and created a value for himself in a real market, in real time, in real value. And here's the thing. We are a business. We're a brand. We're a commodity. We're intellectual property. So we're doing B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer. So, MC Hammer is doing B2C, business to consumer. 50 Cent is doing B2B, his business with Eminem. And then they launched into a multi-million-dollar business. And then the machine does the B2C to the consumer. The record label does the B2C. And then all 50 Cent has to worry about is the B2B, his business to business. So as an entertainer, you have to look at yourself in two lights. I'm a B2B and I'm a B2C. So when I do a show and I'm selling tickets directly to my fans and my customers, then I'm a B2C, and that's where I'm really trying to get my revenues. But if an air show wants to hire me to do comedy for one of their events, that's a B2B. The air show is hiring me. I get on the microphone. I'm doing comedy for the Coors Light Microjets in front of 500,000 people on an airport tarmac. Now, I'm not interacting directly with those people because those customers belong to the air show promoter. So I'm a B2B in that situation.
Okay.
And if I want to be a B2C, then I have to work out a deal where, okay, I want to sell my t-shirts and my comedy albums once I do my set to, can I set up a vendor booth to do that? Now I'm B2B and I'm B2C. A lot of people who get in entertainment, they don't see themselves as a business, as a company, as a commodity, as a marketing, promotions, and sales. And they forget that they're the product, but they still have to have all these other business components in place in order to get that revenue stream going into your bank.
Hold that thought, Steve. We have to pay the bills, and I I want to talk about my attorney, Stephen G. James.
So
Hi, this is attorney Stephen G. James. We've been practicing law at this law firm for over 30 years. I'm a former assistant prosecutor in Kings County and currently a defense attorney to serve you better. We work harder to serve you better. So just call us for the lawyers you can trust. 646 905 9000. 646 905 7001. We're located on Sutphin Boulevard, right near Hillside here in Jamaica, Queens, New York, for over 30 years serving the community. the law firm of Stephen G. James. Thank you.
We'll be right back. But first, are you a small business owner looking for solutions? TMI and Partners is a business solution company offering operational, branding, and financial solution. For only $9.99 a month, your company will be assigned a personal business advisor. Well, that's right, only $9.99 per month, no contract, and you're on your way. Call TMI at 347 234 5304. That's 347 234 5304. Or visit their website at tmium.com. Tomorrow, the world will know your business. Is that it, guys? Hello? Did I do good?
I love that. TMI is our one of our sponsors and one of our greatest backers. So I always got to put in TMI, Mr. Alvin Hartley. Thank you for everything that you have been doing for the past 2 years with Our
sir.
World, Our Power show. But something, Steve, Joe, I want to go back to something that you were showing me the other day, and we was
What was
talking
that?
about hip hop, and we was talking about how people actually got the money to
Oh, that new
the
documentary.
new yeah. Can you tell Steve about it and what's his thoughts on it?
Oh, I forgot the name of it right now, but it's on FX. It's a series, history of hip hop, and how the drug game they helped fund, the music back in the
Hmm.
'80s. Because back then, major labels weren't signing hip hop artists on that level like the way they are now. So the only way to get money for professional studio time and tours were the drug dealers, and it shows how everything links together. So I think next Friday will be episodes 3 and 4. Are you familiar with that series on FX?
Uh, yes, I have heard about it. I haven't had a chance to actually check it out yet, but that's something that when I got a little time, I will definitely get in. Um, try to check out a little bit.
Yeah, because as I was telling you earlier, Steve, I live in Southeast Queens, and where we're at, we have a lot of rappers, we have a lot of wannabe entertainers and stuff like that. And I know their studio time is very expensive just to go into the studio to record or whatever it is, And a lot of these young men and young women, they don't have the financial backing to go into a studio because it costs money and time and stuff like that. So when I was looking at the documentary, I saw everything in my head came together. And
Hmm.
but it's not necessarily everybody's story, but it is a story of a lot of the young people of this generation in the 2000s and actually really our generation that started that, because I was
Hmm.
looking at the documentary, and it's to design your studio like that, and where did you get the inspiration from? And again, I'm going to go back to finances. Because I have a very small studio in my living room right now, and with the equipment that's here, we're talking about over $20,000 or $30,000, but can't
Yeah,
compare to what you showed me. So I
yeah,
like to talk to you a little bit about that.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, first of all, I take my hat off to you for investing in your own studio within your modest home. You look very, very professional, and you sound very professional.
oh,
You
thank you,
you have a
Steve.
you have a multi-million-dollar look and sound. So the advice that I would give people, you are already doing, and that is to um, create how you see yourself and how you want to compete with people in the marketplace so that you can have at least a chance to win some of the dollars in the marketplace. So you have a very professional logo. You've got your a very professional broadcast frame. You're using a professional broadcast streamer. I can see you've got a high quality camera and mic. You got depth of field going, and the focus. You got the
See,
perfect lighting. So whoever is your audio and cinematic engineer,
That's Mr.
I
Joseph Swift. He
yeah,
does it all. He's the producer, he's the editor, he's the lighting. Uh, he's a one shop stop. As
okay.
far as equipment and knowledge.
So for those of you who want to have a production value that is good as what you're seeing right now, be sure to contact Joe at the end of the show and see what his avails are for shooting your show, setting up your sound, and maybe editing some of your raw footage. That's a PSA that I'm more than willing to give you right now.
I got you.
Um,
Thank you, Steve.
um, but to answer your question, you have to start like the studio that I'm in right now. The only reason that I got the call to be a part of that studio was because of the years of work that I put into my own studio to create the sound and production value that you've done on your show, to have someone who has an opportunity to get a studio like that to call me. So when remember I said earlier, work in your plateau, work in your lane.
Yes.
Okay. So I have hundreds of people that I work with in that lane. Now, those people who get better and start to get better opportunities, who are they going to think about when they break through to the next plateau? They're going to think about all the people in that plateau that they trust, that are professional, that are skilled in their trade, they're ambitious, they have integrity, and they are have all the skills and personalities that you want to be a part of your team when you're really trying to put your best foot forward on that next level. That's what happened to me. I've worked with these camera guys, and I met these guys being a videographer at BET Gifting Suites, Oscar Gifting Suites, Grammy Gifting Suites. Now, are we killing it? Are we top of the studios? Are we record labels? Are we NBC? Are we Paramount Studios? No. We're a couple of brothers running around with some really nice cameras that show really nice work on our plateau. And then we'll get a call. Hey, can you guys come in with your cameras and cover our gifting suite? Once we are there, we do a job with each other. And then if any of us gets a call on anything that's remotely cool, we're calling each other. And that's what happened. So one of my friends who's the same level, same plateau in his career that I am, same economic value, same crew rate and talent rate. And it's a professional rate. I mean, we're getting a professional rate for the work that we do with the equipment that we have. And he got a call to rescue a video in the middle of the night. And he went down in the middle of the night, brought his 4K camera, rescued the music video. And because of that, he got an opportunity to be the cinematic department for this major studio.
Oh my
So
Great.
goodness.
now they got the camera department covered. Well, who are we going to get to cover the sound? He's like, oh, I work with the Pod Brother. He is an amazing podcast engineer. He knows audio, and he has all of his own gear. He's got over $60,000 worth of audio equipment, and he already is doing sound for film and doing sound for comedy shows and doing podcast network. And so he's a good guy to be our sound department, because not only he has all the gear, but he also knows how to run it. So if we get any projects that come into the studio that needs a turnkey cinematic department and sound department, we're turnkey ready to go. And so to answer your question is, how do you get to the next game, is do what you're already doing. And that is to show the quality of your work every day or every week. whatever your schedule is. I think your shows are every week. So
Yes, they are.
um, by doing that, and then once they're out there, tell people to share your show and to share what you do. And if anybody needs a co-host, or if they need a camera person, or if they need a producer, um, we can come in and we can cover that for you at a very modest price.
Right.
Uh, and let us know what your fee is, because my fee is a industry market rate based on the unions setting the rate. So my work is just as good as a union person's work. I'm just not in the union, but it's just as good. But because I'm not in the union, I can go just a little bit under that rate.
Okay.
But you got to ask me for that, because
Mm.
the quality of my work is union quality work. So if you want to get a better deal, you gotta ask me for it. So have a rate card of what you do: your lights, your sound, your MC, your voiceover, your host. Um, have it all listed with a price for your hourly rate, your day rate, your half day rate, your weekly rate, your monthly rate. Because sometimes you might get a project that's a 3-month deal and they want to hire you by the month. If you got a monthly rate, the discounts are already built in. You can pick up, a month or two of work just based on that. But have your price of what you are per hour, per day, per half day, per week, per month, and make that the industry market rate, and then they can chip off from there. And so if somebody wants you and they don't have the money to cover your rate, then you ask them, so what's your budget? Because you're willing to give them the Joe Swift hookup if the money is right. If it's enough money to keep the bills going for the month, it's worth taking. Now you're not worrying about surviving, because you already covered that nut in the deal that you did with this particular arrangement. So you always look at what you need for the month to survive is your bottom line, and then the market rate of what you can get in the marketplace is your top line, and then you've got that negotiating massage room in between. Now,
Gotcha.
I have done jobs past what I need to survive on the low end, simply because it's just cool. It's just a fun, cool gig. And
Mhm.
it's like, all right, you're not paying even half of my rate. You're covering my gas, you're covering my food, and you're covering my cell phone. But it's so cool to be out here working on an air show with the Blue Angels, and I get to hang out with like some really cool top of the line people. And I can leverage this to drive more traffic to my website. Okay, maybe that makes it more worth it to me. So if you're only thinking about the bottom line for the dollar, you might lose out on opportunities to brand yourself, to sell your merchandise, to sell your service to other services. And make sure that when you tell your clients a deal that you work out for them, they're not sharing that with anybody. Just let them know that I'm only doing this for you because I got this and I got this, and it gives me a chance to do this. And that equals the value of my market rate. But
Okay.
if I do it for you for $100, that doesn't mean you guys, they're like, oh, you guys a great job. How much is he? That's not your place to say, well, he's $100. Because when they call me and they say I'm 600, they're gonna be like, wait a minute. They told me he was 100. It's like, well, no, no,
That
my
was for
market
that
rate.
brother.
Yeah, that like, that brother had a hookup.
Then they want
you
that
know,
same hookup.
yeah. So if you want me for 100, then you got to check off the list of the things that I need for me for my business, and
Mhm.
it can't be a semi truckload full of chili sauce. That's not the trade up. That's not the hookup. What am I going to do with a semi truck full of chili sauce? Nothing. You know. So either the market rate or the
Mhm.
survival rate or added value has to be something that contributes to my bottom line.
Okay. Steve, I appreciate the information, and I hope the audience is also getting some knowledge out of it. I want to go back to you, Steve. What are your plans for the future, and what are you working on at the present time?
Well, that's a very good question because in the beginning, I got into entertainment for the fun of it. And then I learned that you could make a living at it. And then I was like, okay, entertainment could be something that I can make money at. And then I realized that, oh, what specifically in entertainment do you want to make money at? And I found that, okay, comedy, that's fun. And comedy and entertainment and content is king. So I want to be the king of content. And I'm in that for a while. And then I go to film festivals and I discover, wait a minute, content isn't king, distribution is king. And I learned that by going to a panel in the Cannes Film Festival and listening to the Netflix guys and their story. Blockbuster had the market locked down. They had
Yeah.
stores everywhere. They were renting. Netflix offered Blockbuster the business formula and they turned it down
Down. Yep.
because they didn't realize that distribution is king, not the content. Distribution is king. So from listening to these guys and seeing examples of, yeah, I can create great comedy and yeah, I can get paid for it for one night, but then it ends there. Distribution is where you can get it to the multi-million, the masses, and then it's amplify and duplicate, which is my new motto right now, is you amplify. If I make $10 today, I want to amplify that to $20 tomorrow. Then you duplicate that $20 100 times. And then you just keep playing that checkerboard game with yourself. You amplify, multiply. 10 turns to 20, 20 turns to 100, 100 turns to 1,000. Amplify, multiply. So that's my formula for what I want to do for the future. So I create content with my comedy, I create content with my filmmaking, and I now have these inflatable drive-in movie theaters that I rent and sell, which is my distribution platform, as well as podbrothernation.com, which is where you can download movies and comedy shows on a paid per view. That's my goal and my ambitions for what I want to do for the future is to create content and sell it on my own distribution platforms. And then anybody else who's a distributor that wants to buy my stuff, I'll sell it to you. If there's anybody out there that has content that wants to sell it on my distribution platform, I'll sell it. That's the future of the Pod Brother and Pod Brother Nation right now, is to create content and distribute it and
Nice.
gather as much revenue in those two processes as much as I can with amplifying and multiplying.
All right, Steve. Now, how can people reach you?
You can reach me at info@podbrother.com for my comedy. You can reach me at info@podbrothernation.com for my B2B content distribution platform.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. You've been listening to Our World, Our Power. And don't forget, you can follow us on our social media, our YouTube channel, as well as you can see us on Roku. You can listen to us now on Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. And if you really want to reach me quickly, you can reach me at 646 340 7271. And Steve, it's been a pleasure having you on
Thank you, Steve.
today. I really enjoyed talking with you, and hopefully we can do that again. And I also like to say thank you to my co-host, Mr. Joseph Swift, who is also producer and editor of Our World, Our Power. And please continue to check him out. He has his own show as well. What's it called?
It's called Tech Talk with Swift.
All
Tech
right,
Talk with Swift.
to Swift. So, what's that show about, Joe? For a minute.
We talk about the latest in technology, and we also do a history of technology in terms of the internet, live streaming, social media, stuff like that, how it all works, with the community. and I interview people who actually do it, people who's trying to get into it, and soon we'll be having online training courses where we train people how to, set up their own live streaming and stuff like that, and also help them with computer problems.
And how can people reach you, Joe?
They can reach me at jswiftphotos@gmail.com. Also 917-674-2219.
All right, great. Steve, it's wonderful. We got to continue this conversation another day. And
Yes.
I'm glad you're out there where it's nice and warm. What's the temperature, by the way, there?
It's 70 degrees right now.
Oh, I'm on my way to you right now. I'm catching
Come
the
on
next
down.
flight.
Yeah. And Joe, congratulations on your show. And I want to know why
you.
I haven't been on your show yet. I'm a technical brother. What's up?
I know. I'll have you on soon. I'll have
Awesome.
you on too. I'll give you the
Awesome.
information for that.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Steve, again. You've been listening to Our World, Our Power. Lady Pauline, Joe Swift.
Stay on the air. Don't leave yet.
Okay.